Welcome back to our May threat briefing. In our first story, threat actor Intel Broker allegedly breached Hewlett-Packard Enterprise. Intel Broker claims suggest that the breach encompasses various sensitive bits of information. Among the compromised assets are private GitHub repositories, which of course are vital for software development and collaboration. The exposure of these repositories could lead to unauthorized access to proprietary code and intellectual property. Furthermore, Docker builds, essential for containerized applications, are also reportedly included in the breach, which clearly poses risks both to application deployment and security. This incident reminds us of the importance of segmenting critical assets and placing them behind zero trust access controls. Our second story reminds us that modern breaches often only need hours to do real damage. In a regulatory filing with the Maine Attorney General's office, CHC reported that the data breach impacted over 1 million individuals. According to CHC's report, the breach was detected when unusual activity was identified within the computer systems. Cybersecurity experts immediately came in and investigated and secured the network. Ultimately, it was determined that a skilled hacker had accessed and extracted data but didn't delete or lock anything. Thank God. CHC stated that the hacker's access was ultimately terminated within hours and that daily operations were not disrupted. The organization believes that there is no ongoing threat to its systems. Now, this event reminds us that it really doesn't take that long for an experienced adversary to create expensive damage. While it's certainly cliché to say assume breach, the reality is that when an attack is happening, the first thing that must be done is tightening the segmentation and limiting access. All of these can of course be done before a breach, greatly constraining the attacker's reach. If you haven't put your critical assets in a chamber, this is a good reminder that doing it before a breach is way better than leaving it until after one has occurred. Our third story includes Agentic AI. State-sponsored threat actors from China used artificial intelligence technology developed by Anthropic to orchestrate automated cyber attacks. The attackers used AI agentic capabilities to an unprecedented degree, using AI not just as an advisor, but to actually execute the attacks themselves. The activity is assessed to have manipulated Claude Code, the coding tool that Anthropic makes, to attempt to break into about 30 targets spanning large tech companies, financial institutions, manufacturing companies, and government agencies. A subset of these intrusions did actually succeed. Specifically, they used Claude Code and MCP tools kind of acting as the central nervous system to basically process human operators' instructions and then break down multi-stage attacks into small technical tasks that were easily offloaded to sub-agents. Of course, Anthropic has since banned the relevant accounts and enforced defensive mechanisms to flag such attacks. What we learn from this is that securing attacks against agentic AI requires controls at three places: the endpoint, the infrastructure to have enforcement prior to LLM and MCP interactions, and on the back end so that LLMs and agents are limited in what they can reach. Well, that's all for this month. If you need to tighten up the controls around critical resources or react to the sudden availability of agents in your environment, you can reach out to us at www.zentera.net.